Holy shit, this girl has the biggest fucking titties. Shit. Sorry. I spun the camera around. Am I upside down? No, I'm not. Okay. I might have had a couple of drinks. So I watched Spy Classroom. I almost said Spy X Family. It's also called Spy Room in Japanese. I don't know what the fuck is going on with the titles of this. But whatever. Spy Fuckers is the greatest anime of all time. It's about a bunch of big titty goth GFs. So, case closed, best anime ever, bro. But the reason why I really like it is because I'm in this show. I'm the guy in this show. I'm the guy who is going to fuck all these big titty goth GFs. And that's, what he does. I think. It's about this guy who gets this team of big titty goth GFs. I'm just going to keep saying that. And the goal, they have some kind of impossible mission. Like these girls are a bunch of spies because reasons, whatever, who gives a shit. And this guy is running this team, except all of these girls are like terrible. They're all shit. They suck dick and ass. And this guy is like, okay, well, I have to teach these girls how to become the best because this guy is the best. He like shows, he gives everyone like this little lock thing or whatever, like a little toy, and he's like, all right, pick this lock. And the main girl's like, oh, this is too advanced. It'd take me like 15 minutes to do this. And then he just grabs a lock and then just takes every lock from everyone. He has like 6 of them in his hands. And then he just like throws them up in the air and then boom, they're all unlocked. Just instantly. And they're like, whoa, how'd you do that? He's like, I just did it. just use the fucking lockpick correctly, idiot. Like, that's his whole thing. Like, his whole character is like a Dark Souls fan. He's just like, just be good at it, stupid. And I love it. He talks in this deep, monotonous voice, unlike me right now, but he has long hair, and he doesn't explain shit. He's just some weird guy. And I'm like, yes, this is me. This is me right here. But then, the second half of this anime basically becomes spy versus spy, where the main girl takes the guy out on a date, which is fucking awesome, and then gets him out onto this boat, and then she intentionally poisons him, but he actually intentionally was sinking the boat and shit like that. He's like, yeah, I knew you were doing all of this. I knew everything you were doing. I was just testing you. And it's just like so big brain. It's like, honestly, this is what I wanted from Spy X Family, where, you know, like you got this character. We got this character who has everything figured out, but on the other side, there should be someone else who thinks that they have everything figured out. It's just these crazy giga brain outplays. You know, everyone's just doing all this crazy shit that you weren't supposed to pick up on at all. And it's like, how could you know? But all the characters are just like, yeah, actually, you activated my trap card, loser, get fucked, ratio. And that's what this anime is. It's awesome. I love I love this anime. Is it actually good, or am I just saying this because I'm fucking drunk? Yes!
Shortly after I recorded the segment about Spy Classroom, I had this to say about Onimai.
Fuck you! I am not watching that shit, bro! I'm staying the fuck away from that!
Hello, you are in the secret room that you've probably never seen me in. This is my third room in my basement. It's actually the laundry room. So, I'm doing laundry right now. So, I watched this series called Revenger. No relation to Tokyo Revengers. There's just one Revenger in this anime, and he has nothing to do with Tokyo. It's a throwback samurai fantasy series written by Gen Urobuchi, which is why I was particularly excited about it. But watching this has made me realize, or rather wonder, is Urobuchi all that like exciting nowadays? Like seeing Urobuchi's name attached to a project, is that worth celebrating anymore? Because the reason why we all like Urobuchi, or why anybody cares about Urobuchi, is because he did Fate Zero, Psycho-Pass, at least the first season of Psycho-Pass, and then the movie, and Madoka Magica. And since then, he's basically gone off to just do whatever he wants. He's become this very, very, I guess, niche creator. Like, those are the only mainstream hits that he really has. And they were 10 years ago at this point, as hard as that might be to believe. I guess if you want to count Thunderbolt Fantasy as a mainstream title, because I do believe that is a successful series for him, and good for him for that, because Thunderbolt Fantasy is kind of interesting. I say kind of, it's actually really fucking interesting. I'm not a huge fan of it, but I respect the hell out of its existence. But anyway, like but aside from Thunderbolt Fantasy, he's done lots of projects. It's not like this guy has been completely inactive in anime. He's actually been involved in anime very recently. There was some CG anime he did a couple years ago. Like, it was a fully 3D CG anime. No one watched it at all. It was a YouTube. It was like a YouTube Red thing. I don't know, dude. Some had some weird distribution. No one noticed it. No one paid attention to it. Like, literally, no one watched this. I need some hangers. Looking for some hangers. Where do we keep our hangers? What the? Am I just out of hangers? I have too many shirts to hang up. Fuck it. I might just use these. He I think wrote the script for Bubble, which was a movie by Studio Wit, and I think directed by Araki, Tetsuro Araki, the director of Attack on Titan. But that didn't really like take off, I don't think. Like, I think it was, again, successful enough at the box office, but I don't think anybody really cared all that much. And he also did a Godzilla trilogy. He did a Godzilla trilogy of movies by Polygon Pictures, which is a 3D CG studio that I guess most notably did Ajin and Knights of Sidonia and some other stuff no one watched. I say that as if no one watched Ajin or Knights of Sidonia. Those are fine anime. But yeah, he did a Godzilla trilogy that like no one cared about at all. It's like he's gone off to do these very, very niche projects, I guess, for himself, like to serve his own ends, just to be this interesting, weird, creative force, I guess. This is all to say that I just don't like Revenger very much. Like, I was enthusiastic about it because it's Gen Urobuchi, but watching this has just made me realize, is Gen Urobuchi worth getting all that excited about nowadays? I'm really not sure. Just because it's been so long since I've actually enjoyed one of his projects. Now, like I said, I'm not really a fan of Thunderbolt Fantasy. And that's actually worth mentioning. It is worth mentioning Thunderbolt Fantasy because... Oh, it's not tied over. Because Thunderbolt Fantasy is a wordy, serious, and dark samurai anime. And that's exactly what Revenger is. Revenger is a wordy, serious, very dark, very, very brutal samurai anime. The one thing I will say in favor of this anime is that it has some very, very fucked up deaths. Just within the first episode alone. There was one guy, or I think two guys actually, who, like, he got caught in a trap that was this string, which was the string of a kite, and it had glass. It was like covered in glass, and it wrapped around his neck, and that was fucked up. I was like, no. Another guy got suffocated by gold leaf or some shit. It's like, yeah, this anime's brutal. All right, it has the Urobuchi stamp, I guess you can call it. But other than that, I thought it was extremely boring. Like, all the characters just talk
a lot about the plot, I guess, but they're not very interesting. Like nothing about it was interesting, and I honestly found it hard to follow along. Maybe it's because there's I guess like a cultural barrier because it's like a more traditional Japanese tale. But I just could not get into it at all. I'm just like who is this for, really? It's funny because I went on our anime, the greatest place for anime discussion, and one of the top comments was like, "Oh, this is how you do a spy anime, not some show with 7 girls taking a bath in the first 5 minutes." And I'm just like, is that supposed to be a slight? Because you just described Spy Classroom in a way more enjoyable way than fucking this anime, which he went on about some nerd shit that did not sound interesting to me at all. I'd rather watch 7 girls take a bath than watch this very, very wordy anime that just takes a long time to do anything, and it's just not very interesting to watch. Basically, my conclusion of this is that this is not Tokyo, god damn it. This is Thunderbolt Fantasy, but none of what makes Thunderbolt Fantasy good. I don't enjoy Thunderbolt Fantasy because I also think the story of that anime is just very wordy, very serious, and just not, like, hard to follow, honestly, and just not very interesting. But I respect it because it's a puppet show. If you have no idea what Thunderbolt Fantasy is, please look it up. Please try watching it. Give it a try. You will be impressed. If nothing else, you will be immensely impressed by the craft. Because it's a fucking puppet show, dude. It's like you're watching this and you're just like, how the fuck did they even make this? I really, really admire it. Even if it's not for me, I don't really care about it. I only saw like half the first season. But the fact that it exists and the fact that it has 3 seasons now, I think they're making more of it. Still, it's like, yeah, alright, dude. But in any case, it's just so funny that it feels like the exact same thing, like the exact same story is trying to be applied to anime, but it's not at all presented in an interesting way. It's just a very, very normal looking anime. Like, there's no particularly exciting presentation, nothing creative about the way it looks. It just looks like anime. Which, like, I like anime. I do enjoy anime. And I'm not trying to say anime is a bad medium and, on average, it's terrible to watch. I'm just saying that it does need a good story. It does need, like, some kind of hook. And this does not have it for me. This did not have a hook. This is just... This feels like it was made for the people who keep arguing about whether or not Thunderbolt Fantasy is anime or not. Urobuchi just wrote this to be like, guys, shut the fuck up. I'll just write the exact same story, but it's anime this time. It's anime as you want to define it. And it's like, well, it's just kind of nothing to me. So maybe I'll come back to it if I hear this story like drastically changes or gets a lot better. But after one episode, I'm just like, look, I already had to sit through Raven of the Inner Palace. I somewhat regret that. I don't want to do this again. I got shit to do, man. Life's too short for me to be fucking bored watching anime. I look like shit more than usual because I haven't showered, so I'm gonna go do that after this. But I just watched the first episode of the 2nd season of the Misfit at Demon King Academy, which is this series that takes 2 of anime's worst and overused ideas ever and actually makes an okay series. Like, it's surprisingly not bad, honestly. It's the overpowered main character at a magic high school where you learn how to fight and use magic and shit like that. He gets every chick in the series. And also, it's a Demon King resurrection fantasy. It's like, it's 2 of these terrible ideas into one. But for whatever reason, I actually find myself enjoying it. Because I think the scale of this anime is so ridiculous that it is actually fun to watch. And it is kind of funny. Because the main character literally can do whatever he wants. Just literally fucking anything. And it's hilarious to watch it. Like, the first episode of the anime, he, did the usual thing where he enters the school, there's some guy who's like, no, I don't like this. I'm going to take you down. He's like the strongest guy at the school or whatever. So in half a second, the main character makes his body explode into like a trillion pieces and then resurrects him and is like, yeah, how'd you like that, bitch? And then keeps doing it. He keeps murdering this guy in front of the entire school and then resurrecting him over and over. Like, using all this forbidden, sacred magic that should be impossible in this world. And it's hilarious. So just the display of power, I think, is really, really amusing. And this second season is really going to continue doing that, because I guess you could say the conflict of the first season, which was that there was like a fake demon king who was controlling everything or some shit like that. He's gone now. But now there are like these 4 sacred emperors of the world or something that have all joined forces, and they're trying to create a new child of God, because God has created order and there's all these people who follow him, and it's like the first episode explains a lot of shit, and at the same time I'm just like, what the hell did I just watch? What is happening in this anime? I don't know. It's all crazy, almost like just insane power level shit. It's kind of like, it's almost like watching Dragon Ball Z, where you're just watching insane shit happen. And it's just so funny watching the main character just like use insane world-breaking magic along with someone else. Like they're like he kind of had this small fight with a guy who tried to kill him, and so the main character tried resurrecting him, and so the other guy put another curse spell on him to kill him again, and then the main character like froze time around him. It's just like it's like watching 2 kids make shit up. Like they're trying to have their own magic fight, like you know, like how people would play Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and they would be like, oh, well, actually, this monster does this, and then the other guy's like, well, actually, I use this magic card which does this. It's just such bullshit that I'm just kind of along for the ride, honestly. But yeah, that's kind of why I like it. It's presented all right. And also, I think it's so funny just how much dick sucking occurs in this anime. Your favorite harem protagonist could never have the amount of respect that the main character has in this anime. This guy has like half the entire school just wanting to ride his dick because he's the coolest guy and everyone respects him. Because, I don't know, whatever. It's such nonsense. It's such bullshit. Look, if you don't like this anime, I can't sell you on it. You know whether or not you like it. I'll just say it's surprisingly good, and I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. So yeah. What else? Oh, also the names in this anime are so fucking funny. They're all like shitty fantasy names that maybe come from some kind of mythology. I have no idea. I don't know if the names in this are really, really deliberate, where the author like put in a lot of thought into this name, or if they're complete nonsense. Because you look at them and they're fucking nonsense. Like, what was some of the names in this first episode? These new characters. First of all, the main character's name is Anos Voldigode, which is hilarious enough. There was another guy who showed up named Anoshu Political, and except political is spelled like with coal at the end, like COAL, like just dumb shit. Oh, this other guy, Erdomade Diddy John. Like, is this deliberate, or is this just the author making shit up? Like, because that's what I would do when I was like 12 and trying to create fantasy characters. I'm just like, I'm just gonna put together words that sound complex, and that's going to be their name. So yeah, but that's hilarious, and I love that. Yeah, I like Misfit. It's not like a great series, honestly, but it's fun. Alright, I just watched Trigun Stampede. I was actually not planning to watch this because I thought that this was a sequel to the original Trigun, the original Trigun anime, because Trigun obviously is a manga, and I don't think it was ever fully adapted. There was just that one 25 episode or thereabouts series that aired in like 2000 or something, and that was about it. And I swear, when this was announced, when Orange announced that they were doing this series, I'm positive that they said, we are going to continue adapting the manga. And I honestly thought that they meant that they were going to just pick up where the anime left off, basically, and adapt the rest of the manga. Maybe instead they were saying that they're going to just do a more complete adaptation or get further in the manga than the original series did, because this is a remake. This is a do-over of the Trigun adaptation, I guess. And maybe this is going to be a long, multi-season project by Studio Orange. So, R.I.P. Hoseki no Kuni fans. Taking another L. Well, hey, Beastars is almost over, so maybe it'll come back someday. But honestly, Orange has done it again. They have freaking done it again. They are just absolutely brilliant. They are literally a beacon of light for not just CG anime, but I think just CG animation in general. Like, this anime looks so good, not just for anime, but for CG. And like, the characters in this are so expressive. Some of the body animations, like there was one, excuse me, I have to cough. There was this one scene where Meryl, the girl of this series, she ran behind her senpai or whatever, the guy who Roberto, the guy who's leading her. They're both investigators. They're both reporters, and they're looking for a Vash the Stampede, I guess. And anyway, so something happens, and then she cowers behind him, and the way she just scrambles behind him, it honestly reminds me of like old school Disney animation. Like I'm watching like a 90s or earlier Disney film, but it's CG. Like, it just looks so beautiful, and it's so expressive, and it's so smooth. It's just freaking awesome, and it's really interesting to see Trigun adapted in this way, because I haven't seen Trigun personally, but it is one of those anime that has been famous for a super long time. Like, even before I knew much about anime, I had heard of Trigun, because I'm pretty sure it was I think it's one of those series that was maybe more popular in America than it was in Japan. Kind of like Cowboy Bebop. But you get kind of like Cowboy Bebop. People liked it because it was cool. It was like a big rule of cool show. And maybe Vash had some silly or awkward moments, but I think that the anime was about being like really cool, really badass. I mean, Vash is a really, really iconic character design. But in this, it's really emotional. And Vash himself almost comes off as pathetic and really awkward and has no idea what he's doing, which I guess is deliberate. I guess the whole thing with this character is that he might have a lot of like insane skills, but doesn't really want to, let people onto that. So he comes off more incompetent than he actually is. He's like he's hiding his power level, and whenever he does do something amazing, he's like, "Oh wow, didn't think that was going to happen. I'm so lucky, lol." So yeah, it's interesting to see it adapted in this much more smooth, very beautiful style, and be a lot more silly and also dramatic, as opposed to the really cool, tough, badass atmosphere that maybe the original had. Maybe I'm totally wrong. Maybe someone who has seen the original Trigun is listening to this and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? That's not what Trigun is like." I don't know. That's just what I assumed it was like. But in any case, this is a beautiful anime. It's awesome. Like, the stuff that happens in this anime is just so ridiculous, but it's freaking awesome. So, yeah, absolutely watch this. And like I said, I thought it was going to be a sequel to Trigun, but it is not. It is a do-over. So that's awesome. Yeah. Orange is saving anime again. Okay. I was really afraid of the new season of Inspector, or at least the OP of it, because I loved the OP for the first season. That was my favorite OP of that year, and since then I haven't seen a better OP, or an OP as good as that, or at least one that I've loved as much. So yeah, high bar to set. But I knew that band wasn't coming back because they're on hiatus because their singer left the band, unfortunately. So I'm just like, oh man, it's not gonna feel right with a new band doing this OP for the second season. And holy shit, this is a banger. This is actually really fucking good. Dude. I love that, like, really whimsical, fantastical instrumentation that they've got in it. Oh, this is awesome, dude. Fuck yeah. Inspector is back. I love this. I love this series.
Alright, well, I got done with watching the first episode of Inspector Season 2, and I was actually dreading it a little bit because I saw a post on Reddit that said that the first episode was going to be a recap, which I thought was maddening because there really isn't much to recap of the first season of Inspector, to be completely honest with you. So I'm like, what the fuck are they, like, how are they going to recap this, dude? And why? Moreover, turns out that post was full of shit. Like, there is a recap, but a very, very short one. Like, it's a couple minutes of recap. And really, this first episode of the second season is kind of like a reintroduction to the series. It's kind of like... It's kind of like the people making this anime have understood that the reception for the first season was kind of mixed, and that maybe they're not going to win a lot of people over with this second season unless they give them a jumping on point. So they're kind of just like saying, all right, you don't really have to watch the first season. You can just jump into this one, and that's what this episode is for. Which is kind of true, because the first season of this anime started amazingly, like incredibly. I loved the first few episodes of this series. I love the two main characters, and also the third one that showed up later. The guy's ex-girlfriend. They have such a... The relationships in this anime are so interesting and so fun and just so kind of unique and weird. And so are all the characters. Like, all the characters are just so strange, but very, 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 very fun to watch. And yeah, I loved it for that. But then it got into this insanely long-winded, ultra dialogue-heavy arc that just went around in circles. Intentionally so, for various reasons, but it was ridiculous. Like, it was way too much, and it was really, really boring. So, I actually gave the first season of this anime a 4 out of 10. Like, I gave it a 4, but I'm excited for the second season because I have heard that the manga doesn't really go into those long arcs anymore. And it seems that in this season 2, they're going to adapt 3 arcs in particular. So, thank God they're not going to, like, stay in one place for, like, 8 episodes anymore. So, yeah. So, I think that this season is going to have a pretty dramatic improvement, just because it still has those things that made it good in the first season. So what this anime is, it's about these, it's kind of like, at first when you watch the first season, it kind of seems like it's going to be this episodic yokai mystery sort of thing, where the main character is this girl who was abducted by yokai when she was a child, and then at the cost of her right eye and left leg, she became the goddess of the yokai. So, like, all the yokai in Japan or whatever just kind of, like, follow her, or, you know, like they worship her, literally. And then she meets this guy who... he ate some yokai that gave him strength, and then he ate a mermaid. Like, he came from this really weird, bizarre family, so he has super strength, and also he's immortal. And so it was these two characters kind of going around solving mysteries relating to yokai, and it was really interesting. I really liked it at first, but again, it just got into this insanely long arc about one particular thing, and it went fucking on and on. But hopefully it's not going to do that again. Yeah, I will say this first episode was kind of boring. It's just very dialogue heavy, honestly. I mean, the series itself is going to be dialogue heavy, but not really in a way where the dialogue is interesting. Like, what I like about this anime is the relationships all the characters have with each other and the way they interact with each other. I mean, the yokai mysteries can be interesting in and of themselves, and you do get this kind of weird
action piece at the end of the first episode where the guy Kuro has to fight this sumo wrestler demon which is like 3 times his size. And it's interesting because Kuro has immortality, and he also has another ability where he can predict the future. Like, this guy's insanely overpowered, except in order to actually fight something and win, he has to die like 12 times. He's like Subaru. He just gets constantly fucked up over and over again in extremely brutal ways. But he does it. He's a fucking weirdo. But Kotoko, the girl, is also a weirdo, and they are totally meant for each other. And I love this couple. So yeah, just looking forward to seeing where this anime is going to go, because I like the main core pieces of it. It just needs to execute itself a lot better, but I think it will in this second season. So yeah, I'll probably do another impressions episode where I talk about the second episode of everything, just to maybe reiterate some thoughts or see if anything changed. But yeah, so not a super great first episode, but I guess this is just a reintroduction, and then the real season's going to start next week. All right.
And then I realized that was about in half an hour or so. I'll cut it off there. I will be watching more stuff as the season goes along, and then I'll do another episode when I watch maybe a few more shows and then talk about them. So see you in the next part.